I can tell you this, when I woke up, I literally thought I died. It was just like this sense of just doom. Like, I'm never gonna see my kids again. It's over. It's done. And then I heard the beeps. And I was like, thank God. Thank God. I can live, man. Like, I didn't die. I'm here. But it didn't end with that, right? Like, this for the next couple of days, still very, almost like in these two worlds, man. I know this is weird. Things start to open up when you let the light in. And now I get to walk in the light. And that's the thing about it. It's like there's something bigger than me out there. And when you connect with that and you realize that, I first felt it on a yoga mat, but then I really felt it when I almost died, and so.
Thank you, everyone, for joining me on this episode of Let Thy Single Eye Be Still. My name is Travis Cosentino, and with me today, I have Whitney Browning. He experienced a near-death experience that completely changed his life. And without going into too many details, let's go ahead and get started. So you had a near-death experience, Whitney, but in my interviews, I really like to kind of start from not necessarily the beginning, but I want to just kind of get an idea of like the kind of person that you were before this experience and what led you to going down this road.
Certainly. I'm a single father of 3 little girls. You can see them behind me. They're really, I refer to them as part of my purpose because they are, 10, 8, and 6 now. But I'm the business development manager for a staffing replacement outfit. And part of my job is to create relationships and maintain them. And so I would say prior to this experience, there definitely was a big ego that was included in this person. But through this process and this near-death experience, it's been a huge transformation for me as a person. And we could talk a little bit about that. So,
well, I was kind of wanting to maybe, how was your upbringing and what kind of person do you feel like you were before all of this?
Certainly. So I was raised middle kid, born and raised in Boise, Idaho. My parents divorced when I was really young. Was really shy growing up, very introverted until my 20s, and then I got into door-to-door sales and came out of my shell at that point. There's not a quicker way to do that. I had a friend that was making a few $100s a day selling meat door to door, and he convinced me, and I was mortified to get in the truck with him one day and ride around and do that. And that really kind of transformed me into this extrovert that I am today. But yeah, as far as the kind of person that I was, I didn't really believe in God, if that makes sense. I think at one point I believed that there was something greater than me out there. Didn't know what it was. I think at one point I even identified as an atheist. I said, hey, this is it. That's all there is. And I could say without certainty that that's not the case. And yeah, it's been quite the transformation in the last 6 months, big time. So, and then after that, I got into real estate, and that was kind of trying to be like my father. He's a big real estate guy for years and years. And then I got into staffing, and it's sales based, but it's kind of my own path. And it's interesting, through this experience, I realized that I didn't want to do any of that anymore. And I feel like I've completely aligned with my soul purpose at this point. I love what I do. I mean, I have a phenomenal team and I love my boss, but I know what I'm here to do. And so that's what's, I call it, when I talk about the story, it's like aligning with your soul purpose. And part of my purpose is my kids. And now I know what the other part is. And so.
Yeah, I love that. Okay. So let's go into the experience. And so you took a trip. Where did you go?
No, I was here locally. So I was out.
You were here locally?
Yeah, the experience was north of here. I was going fishing at CJ Strike, which is up by Mountain Home Air Force Base. It's a reservoir. But yeah, so I was on a fishing trip, had my 3 little girls for the first time on a boat, and I was planning to meet our mutual friend, Amanda, who actually introduced me to you, and her son, Dristan. And we were kind of on our way up there. But prior to that, I can tell a story about the Kava, if you like now, or I don't know how you want to get into that, but
Yeah, I'm curious about the Kava. Like, how did the Kava sort of come into this whole experience?
certainly. So prior to that, driving up to CJ to go fishing, I was out doing my job. So, like I said, I'm the business development manager for a staffing and placement outfit. My job is to walk through businesses, make cold calls, that sort of thing, try to create new relationships for the staffing company, get people to utilize us and maintain the ones that we have. And I was out driving around and I stopped at a local business called Kava, and it's here in Garden City. And I'd never been in before, didn't have any experience with Kava or what it was. So I was just doing my job. And I came in, and the place was super inviting. It was like rolling into somewhere in the South Pacific. There was like, tiki torches and this very islandy feel to it, like a nice vibe when you walk in. It was kind of midday, so there wasn't that many. There was like one patron at the bar, and then a barista, and then the owner, come to find out, was behind the bar, like purposing the stuff. And so I came in and I just struck up a conversation. I gave my normal, hey, ever utilize staffing pitch, and then kind of just segued into just, trying to figure out what it is that they did there and what it was. It's like I said, I had no experience with it. And the owner started telling me the story, and it kind of resonated with me because, my ex-wife, one of them, married 3 times, third time was not the charm, fortunately, but she's had some struggles with alcohol over the years. And he'd started talking about how he was an alcoholic, and Kava, had changed his life. And it had been a place where people could go congregate and didn't go to the bar. It's like give you that socialization that you get from like going out to the bar, but you could go there and then drink this Kava. But it was, he presented it as homeopathic, like it was like a tea, perfectly safe, no adverse effects like alcohol, and just this really great thing. And he's a father of little kids like me. And so I was like, hey, that's really great. So you're living your best life, and you've got this business here, and things are booming, and that's wonderful. So I tried it. It was tasted awful, and then didn't really get much out of it except for my mouth was a little numb. No big deal. And then as I was leaving, he made the point to tell me about some that were in the cooler next to the door that were mixed with like banana and different things like that, and that were better tasting. So hoping that I would get some business, like, yeah, I'll buy a couple of them. And so I purchased 4 of these 12-ounce containers. And then as I'm driving up to CJ Strike to meet a friend, I've got my little girls with me. I drank one of them in the car. No effect. It was fine. Like I didn't drink, alcohol or anything like that on this trip. It was going to be just like kid friendly, and we didn't go up there to get messed up. I didn't buy Kava to get screwed up, and then, so we get up there and we ended up not connecting for whatever reason. I got there really late. I actually took the wrong exit, and it took me like 2 hours, which should only been like an hour drive up to CJ. I haven't been there in years. And I've got my little girls and a brand new puppy that we had, and our 6-year-old lab, with the assumption that I would have some help, right? So I look like this guy, this single dad with 3 little girls under 10, and a puppy and a dog, and on the way up there, and hoping that as soon as I got there, that would be the case. And ultimately that didn't happen. As soon as I got there and trying to connect with Amanda, I come to find out she was on the complete opposite side of the lake, and we didn't actually put in the water until close to 7 p.m. And I tried calling her a couple times. We didn't connect. And at that point, I was just like, I'm here with the girls. We're really enjoying our time here, like being present and hanging out. Let's do some fishing. If we connect with them, great. And as the night kind of went on, we kind of got sidetracked. I was having some trouble with my boat, which was a little frustrating. And then as the night went on, we didn't connect with Amanda, and it got dark. And so I headed back to the marina, and this is close to sunset, I think. And I actually lost my keys to the truck. So I parked the boat on the shore there, looking for my keys. And at this point, it's like 10 o'clock. I mean, we really kind of lost track of time. We're having such a good time fishing with the girls. And like I said, it was the first time they'd been out there. and didn't find my keys. And ultimately, it took several hours. I'm not sure what happened, but I made the decision to spend the night on the boat with the girls on the shore. I had blankets and food and things like that, and it was over 100 degrees, so it's not big of a deal. And I knew Amanda had like one of her this like camper van thing, and I thought, well, maybe they ended up spending the night up there, and we connected in the morning. And it was really late, and I tried getting help from people at the marina. I said, hey, is there a place where we get a hotel, or is there a place where we could stay? And no one was around. I didn't want to disturb anybody. A locksmith would have been a couple hours at that point. I was like, we'll just stay here rather than try to load the boat. I ultimately did find my keys about like 1:30. I'm like, let's just stay here. And so the next morning I got up with the girls, and I was like, hey, do you guys want to head out of here? And, we had breakfast, and you want to head out of here? Do you want to go maybe fish for a little bit? And everybody was in a good mood. We ate. And that's when things kind of started to went haywire. It was really hot that day. And so we ended up going fishing and hanging out for a couple hours. And throughout the day, and time just kind of slipped away, I drank those other 3 throughout the day. We had water and other stuff, but, I ended up drinking those 3. And that's when things really got bad. I actually started.
Let me ask you something.
What was that?
Sorry, let me interject.
Sure.
So the first time you took it, you said that it made your tongue a little numb?
Yeah.
But you didn't have any other effect other than that?
No, nothing.
Okay.
And I drank one on the way up there, one of those 12-ounce, and nothing. It was just like, it's like drinking tea, like calming tea, right? I didn't have any adverse effect at all.
So you were just more relaxed, or you didn't really notice anything at all?
Not really anything at all. Just kind of, I would say, just like kind of calm, but not, certainly not what happened on the Sunday. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it was really just went to the moon. Yeah, and I come to find out, like, so I'd say
don't
probably.
Tell you.
What's that?
They don't tell you how dangerous it is.
I had no idea, and not to be not accountable for not doing my due diligence, because what's transpired since then has been enormous. I mean, it's been, like a chain reaction of inertia to the fact I can't even. I mean, it's turned my whole life upside down. But I will say for the better, through this whole experience, and I will get into that. But yeah. So as I'm going through this with the kids, really scary. I start like hallucinating on the boat. Like, I start calling my kids, my brothers, my siblings. I'm a middle kid, and so I'm looking at my older kid, and I'm thinking that that's my older brother, and my youngest is my younger sister. I think at one point I was drinking lake water. Started feeling like, celestial beings were coming down from the sky. I mean, it was bad. Come to find out that I was in and out of consciousness. Those are from, police reports from what my kids said and statements afterwards. I haven't talked to them since July, unfortunately. And then about, I want to say, so we got there at about 5:30 the day before. And about 4 p.m., 3 or 4 p.m. The next day, as I'm going through this in my body, my family was concerned because they hadn't heard from me, my dad. And they called up. I had talked to him the night before, but he knew I was up there with the girls. And I guess he had tried to call him, couldn't get in touch with me. And so he called up to the Black Sands, and that's the marina up there at CJ Strike. And the people up there came looking for me. And about 3, 4 o'clock, that's when they found me on the boat with the girls. And I remember a lot of what was happening, coming in and out of consciousness. It was almost like I was in these 2 places at once. I've come to find out that through, people analyzing my medical records and multiple doctors now, that I was in sepsis shock. My organs are shut down in a condition called rhabdomyosis. If you're not familiar with what that is, it's, a lot of times they find it in elderly people that have fallen down, the body's kind of breaking down for death, that sort of thing. And I had an underlying stomach infection. All this from the Kava. And again, I didn't drink any alcohol, clean toxicology report, no drugs whatsoever. Even took a hair follicle test. So about 3, 4 o'clock, the owners of the Black Sands came and found me and my girls, thank God, and they took us all off the boat. Apparently, they were asking me questions and I wasn't responding, so they were pretty concerned. And
So let me ask you:
yeah,
were you out on the water, or were you just right at the water when this whole thing happened?
we were out on the water, but we were close to the shore at this point. But throughout the day, I remember being close to the shoreline throughout the day, and it seemed like we were almost like this time just stood still, and it was probably 104, one of the hottest days, no cloud cover whatsoever.
Hmm.
And I know that Kava seems like it really dehydrates you. And so I think that was kind of, and I had heat stroke as well, going through this. But yeah, so we're close to. I remember making it my way back to the marina. The boat kept dying for whatever reason. As the people at the Black Sounds found me and the girls, and I'm going through this hallucinations at this point. They take me and the girls off the boat. So if you can picture this, we're floating. The boat's dead. And rather than they come up on their boat, rather than hook onto my boat and drag us into the shore, they just take us all off the boat and leave the boat floating, which is really weird. But again,
Wow.
I'm pretty messed up at this point, right? So we all get off the boat and they drive us the short distance back to the shore. We all get off, and I remember asking Bill, the owner of Black Sands, hey, I need to go back and get the boat, and I wish he wouldn't have driven me back at that point. I really do, because that's when things just kind of went crazy. He took me back, and I got on the boat, and then he just left me there. Got the boat started. Yeah, I'm like, I mean, clearly I'm not responding, but the man takes me alone back to get my boat. It just doesn't make a lot of sense, and I wish that was the case, but. So I ended up getting the boat started, and instead of driving the same direction back to the Black Sands, I drive the opposite direction. And crash the boat on the rocks.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and I don't mean like crash it like 50 miles an hour. I'm like driving up. I mean, like I get up there, and then I, like parallel park it on the rocks. Not a great thing, but the point to it is it wasn't like, it doesn't really matter. The boat's messed. I'm messed up. I'm crashing the boat. Like the propeller's out of the water, and it's still like, it's turning, right? Like I have it out of the water, and then the next thing you know, I'm still like feeling like these celestial beings are coming down from the sky at this point, man. I'm not even joking. So I have this Bible, right? And the propeller's still running, and I start beating it on the steering wheel like in a rhythmic fashion, like I'm channeling in people to come pick me up. Like people, I need to stay here because I'm going home. My family's coming from the sky and from everywhere. It's really strange, man. And then at that point, I'm there for it seems like not very long, and then a deputy rolls up on me, and it's the strangest thing in the world. As soon as he walks up and approaches me, I'm like, hey, do you want to come in and try? You want to you want to try to make music with me or whatever? And as soon as I look in his eyes and I see him in his eyes, it's like I'm looking at my daughter, like in the eyes. Like it's clearly not my daughter, my middle kid, Adeline, but I see her, right? And I'm like, and it's the weirdest thing. And then he asks, his other older deputy McCormick approaches, and they convince me to get out of the boat. And I'm in this like super happy, very euphoric state at this point. As soon as I get out and I see McCormick, I start crying. As soon as I look in his eyes, I start crying, and I can see in his eyes, I'm like, it's Grandpa Hank. I'm like, I missed you. And Grandpa Hank was my mom's, my grandfather, my my grandfather who passed away years and years ago. And I give him a hug. I'm like, Grandpa. And I'm like, I missed you, and I start calling him Grandpa. And it was the strangest thing. And that's kind of how this progression continued. They actually convinced me to, hey, we want to go talk. We put these handcuffs on. I'm like, sure, that's fine. But could we not pull up to the marina, and could my kids not see me handcuffed in the back of the car? I agree. And I'm very cordial at this point. Like, no big deal. I'm coming you know, willingly. I'm still
Let me
somewhat
ask you,
coherent. Sure.
sorry, let me interject.
Hmm.
So, I have a few questions. The celestial beings, what did they look like?
They were almost like avatars, like blue in nature. You know, like it's weird, and it's weird. I kept thinking that I was one of them too. You know, and as I was reading this Bible, it was like I was commanding like a dance, almost like on the lake. Like they were going to come down and be dancing on the lake. You know, and like nobody
Wow.
could see them but me. You know, and like they were just. And what's weird about that? It was like two people in one. So each avatar was like two people, which I mean, again, I was pretty messed up, but that's what I saw from this. It's like I wasn't at that point, but the people that I saw were, you know, almost like when you come to this world, you're two people, then you split apart. I don't know what that is, but that's just what my perception of things were in that moment.
That's very interesting.
Yeah, it was pretty next level. And so they get me in the cop car, and like I said, man, it's really hot, and so I'm going through this transition here at this point, and so if you've ever been arrested, and I have never been arrested or in jail, just to be clear before this, never been in a mental, you know, like I don't have psychiatric issues. Like, there's nothing like that in my life. I mean, I don't, I'm a pretty normal guy for the most part. I mean, I was rebellious growing up, but like, you know, like
You seem normal to me.
I have a
Yeah.
career and I'm a father, you know, like I don't do bad stuff. Right. And so, um, this is a new experience for me. Like being sitting in the back of a cop car is not like normal for me. You know what I mean? Being handcuffed and I'm messed up, right? And so they basically walk me. You know, I'm not far from the marina, and so I get to about halfway. The marina's, you know, over to the right. I'm parked over here. Kids can't see. I can't see them. And I feels like I sat there forever. Ambulance workers came up. My dad finally arrived, and as I'm seeing people approach the car, ambulance workers and other people, like I'm looking at them and they're coming up close to the window, and I'm like, oh, that's Trina. Oh, that's this. And there are people that are either I know now and have been in my life or have passed away, but it's not them, but it looks just like them because it's right here. And it's this just the weirdest feeling to see that in their eyes, you know, and to have that experience. And
Hold on.
so
So let me ask you. So the people that were walking up, some of them were people you knew, and then there were other people.
just my father, but they looked like the people that I knew in my life, people that had passed
Oh
away,
wow,
and it was all
that's
in the eyes. Yeah, it was like they looked very similar to them in that moment, but it was like I knew that they weren't, but it was like maybe, you know, like are they just like taking over this vessel for these people? But what was strange about it is there are certain people that were still alive. Like, how is this? You know, like, well, this doesn't make. How are the alive people here? You know what I mean?
maybe it's like an angelic influence or something, because angels come into our lives in many different ways, and so maybe
Yeah,
one of those ways is by having the Holy Spirit work through someone. So
possibly. And I think and as I tell you the rest of the story, that makes a lot more sense now that you say that. My father came up and approached the cop car, and the first person I talked to at this point, besides the officer McCormick and the other one, Chad Williams, I think his name was, and he goes, "Son, did you take drugs? You know what's going on?" And he said, and we talked about this a bunch since then. And my dad and I are enormously close. And he said I looked through him and said, "Dad, I'm going home." And he said he was just like, it scared the crap out of him. Like he thought I was just like, he didn't know what was going on. He didn't know what I was on, and yeah, you could see, but I thought that he was part of it, like I thought in that moment that dad was like, this is all planned. Like dad's like, I'm feeling something divinely that dad's a part of this. Like I'm supposed to do this. And this is like almost like a test. I know it's sort of very weird, like dad's part of this. I'm supposed to go through this process. Another thing that I got from this, and this is pretty next level stuff. So I'm really opening up right now. So I want to like make sure that, like I'm dying at this point. So, like this is what I experienced though,
right, yeah, I got you.
take it all, take it as you will. But what I got from this is like this changing of the guard. Like, and what I mean by that is generationally, we've been going, it's almost, I equate it to like AC/DC. Like we've been in this DC, like negativity, through for a very, very long time as a world, as a society. And there's like this shift coming to a more positive, more open AC switch, and that's part of what I experienced during the day out on the lake. Like this is coming, like this is part of that, and whatever that means, I don't know. Um, but it felt very real to me, And so when I'm talking to my father, I'm like, this is part of this. Like he's in on it. You know what I mean? Like dad knows this, or there's something beyond that. And so
I
we
do
stood
know
there
that.
at the marina for a bit, and it seemed like forever. And then they decided they're going to take me up to the police station. And so the nearest police station from CJ is Murphy, and I think it's like an hour north. And I'm riding with the older one, who I call Grandpa because I thought that's who he was, and I'm in the back of the police car, and then the other deputies follow behind. And it was like driving up to heaven. I can't tell you. Like as I'm driving this car, like you're looking at all the landscape, and I'm just like this euphoric feeling, like this is it. I'm like, we're opening up, like this feeling, like hey, I kept having this feeling like we're gonna drive off the ledge and start flying, literally. And I also remember this feeling of this connection, because remember I told you the other deputy looked like my middle kid, Adeline. He was falling behind us, and I remember being told in my mind that I need to make sure I keep eye contact with Adeline behind us, even though it's not Adeline. Because if I don't do that, I'm going to die, and I'm going to lose her forever. Like I'm never going to see her again. You know what I mean? And so I kept like peeking over my shoulder to see and to make sure that I keep eye contact. And that eye contact part continues forward for the rest of this experience of like, if I don't do that, I'm going to die. I'm not going to be here. And so I kept doing that. I remember trying to like open the window because it was so hot. We ended up at the police station. My dad ended up driving up there, and as I'm sitting handcuffed in the back of this police car, we drive up there, and we're sitting next to a post office. It's really hot, obviously, and I've been sitting there. So the ambulance workers get up there. At this point, the sheriff is up there, Murphy, Idaho. Lots of cops. My dad's up there, and it's getting really hot. Okay, back in the police car, I keep remember asking for water, and I'd get little sips. They'd roll down the window, and I've been arrested 2 times now from this experience we can get into afterwards. But one thing I can say is being in the back of a police car in the middle of summer is atrocious. There's not a lot of cool air. I can see how people could die or have died in the back of police cars, especially when you're in that fight or flight mode, or if you're messed up like I was, knowing how close to death I was. But sitting there, I'm starting to see those same things. And now more police officers are approaching the car at this point. I see the same thing. More people I know in the eyes, more people that I've either passed or in my life. And I look to the left, and there's like this little post office in the parking lot of the Murphy, Idaho police station, and the door. And looking at the door, I could see like light beaming from the actual door, like almost like you could see it around the edges of the door. And so I kept feeling like I have to go through this test to be able to open that door and go through it. And that's the other side, right? And so I'm sitting there, and as I'm coming to find, I'm like dying. My organs are shutting down. I'm asking for water, asking for help. And my grandfather on my dad's side, different grandfather, he passed away years ago too. He was a farmer, and my dad's dad, and he always had tractors and stuff. And that place up there, I remember sitting there and feeling like grandfather behind me was driving back and forth on the tractor. Like every few minutes I'd hear him passing by. This whole time I was told I had to keep eye contact with what I know is now Deputy Chad Williams, who I thought was my daughter. So I'm constantly like just trying to like make sure that I don't lose consciousness and keep that eye contact so I don't die or lose Adeline forever, was kind of what I was being told. If you lose eye contact, you'll never see her again. You'll never see her again. And so you have to do that. And I realized after, I think I was up there for a couple of hours, at least over an hour in the back of that police car at that point. Finally, I saw that my father was leaving. I couldn't hear all the conversations that were happening. I started banging on the back of the police car because at that point I started freaking out. I'm like, I'm really hot. I'm not doing so well back here. I'm not getting water, and my only advocate is leaving. And this is where it gets really intense. And so I start banging on the back of the police car. Dad's gone, and this is what I remember. And it was very real to me. I was pulled out of the police car by all of them. The one that was called grandfather, Deputy McCormick. And they pulled me out in restraints by my feet and my arms. And then they ripped this Trinity pennant, just pulled it right off my neck. And he took a water bottle and shoved it down my throat. And he said, "Do you accept Jesus Christ as your Savior?" I kid you not. And like I said, this is very real to me. And, when I got my belongings back, the pendant necklace was broken. So, I mean, take it as whatever you want. I was put in 5-point restraints at that point and put into an ambulance and given 80 milligrams of what's called Geodon, which is, I think it's antipsychotic. I'm not exactly sure. But as I got into the back of the ambulance, and we are driving to West Valley in Caldwell, and it's about an hour drive. I was taking non-emergent, which is just surprising. I mean, I could have died, like what's going on with me? And they're just taking their time, no ambulance flashing lights or whatever. I think there was 3 or 4 people in there, and I think these are my angels at this point. Like, I'm looking up and I feel like I'm having conversations with these people. And they're not who they are, but they're people that are like watching out for me. And I'm told, you've got to get out of your restraints or you're going to die. You've got to get out. And I was told how to slid out of my restraints. Like I said, I was 5-point restraints, and I slid down enough where I could get in a place where I could sit upright. And as I'm driving, if you picture this, I'm in the gurney and my feet are hitting it's got enough play in it where it's rocking, where my feet are hitting against the back of the door. When I was 18, for my 18th birthday, one of the things that I wanted to do was go skydiving for my 18th birthday. And my mom and dad paid for that. So the 18, I'm going to go skydiving, Star Idaho, Skydive Idaho. And it wasn't the best time to go do that because I had a sinus infection pretty bad. And so I show up there, I'm going through, what the motions of what you're supposed to do. And then I get on the plane and we get up there, and the guy that's riding tandem with me, I'm 6'2". So this guy's, I think, barely 5 foot. He's a very small man strapped to me, and I get out there and we jump, and I completely just blank on what I'm supposed to be doing. They give you this like intro before you jump, and like, here's what you do. You're supposed to spread out, all these things. And I don't remember any of that. So we're tumbling, right? Like out of control, coming out of the plane. And the man's hitting me in the back of the head, like and yelling at me, spread out, very traumatic. And that happened for a while. And ultimately I finally was able to just, pop out enough where the chute opened, and we hit the ground pretty hard. The man was white and I messed up. I'm like, my parents looked like they'd seen a ghost. I mean, it was just like, my dad's video with one of those old video cameras. He's like, oh my God, you're alive. Just like, and I bring this up because I'm sitting there in the gurney and I'm having this vision. I'm coming back to that moment, except this time the chute doesn't open. And my parents are going to watch me hit the ground. And so I got to get in the jumper position. I got to make sure I do this right. And so I slid out and I had to sit up. So I'm sitting at the end of this gurney, like the doors are going to open and I'm ready to jump out this time. I'm ready to go. Right. And so, I slid up, I'm sitting in this position, and then I get to the ER, and I'm met by, McCormick and this other deputy. And then we've got Caldwell police in there at this point. I'm meeting with, the emergency room person, and I know who I am. I know like where I'm at, but I'm not given the answers that they want me to give. And it's like I'm being told not to for some reason. And this is really weird. I don't know what, maybe I'm just really confused. Like I said, I've never been in trouble. I'm not a defiant person. Like, why would I do that? I got this Bible with me that I've carried, like, because he's still got the Bible and it's got my name in it. He asked me how old I am. And I said, well, what's your name? Well, doesn't it say on the Bible? How old are you? And it has my birth date from like 1994. I'm like, well, doesn't it say? So like, you're 12 years old, Whitney. And I'm like, but at this point, I'm looking around at these emergency workers and they're telling me, in this moment, this is what I'm being told. These are the answers that you need to give. I don't know what that is, man. The next thing I know is I'm being held down and restrained and by 4 or 5 people, and they shove a catheter in my penis, man, forcibly. And I'm like, the most painful thing ever, right? And then I wake up in the hospital after that. They must have given me something, because it's like, I don't remember. I can tell you this, when I woke up, I literally thought I died. There was just like this sense of just doom. Like, I'm never gonna see my kids again. It's over. It's done. And then I heard the beeps. And I was like, thank God. Thank God. I could live, man. Like, I didn't die. I'm here. But it didn't end with that, right? Like, this for the next couple of days, still very, almost like in these two worlds, man. I know this is weird, but they take me up to, I end up on the hospital floor, and my face is completely sunburned at this point. Like, you can't even see me. Like, I look like a scab, big scab. And they put me on the hospital floor, and I'm being interviewed by health and welfare workers, because I had my children with me, and what's called designated examiners. And I've been put on a mental hold at this point, because what else is wrong with this guy? He doesn't have any alcohol. They've already run the toxicology report. They know it's clean. So what happens is when, there's no drugs or alcohol, you're crazy. I mean, that's how this works, and so they put me on this mental hold. Yeah. And
they didn't believe anything you said about the Kava?
Of course. No, the only thing I said was that I drank Kava. I'm still really messed up at this point too. I think that everything is like divine. This was supposed to happen, and like, I'm supposed to go through this, and there's nothing, my actions are perfectly normal, blah blah blah. I end up on the 3rd floor of West Valley, which is the mental facility. There's like, you don't get to go outside, there's no windows, and the psychologist is very obnoxious and very hey, you're completely inappropriate with what you've done. You've clearly got some kind of mental bipolar disorder or some schizophrenia, because this is not normal. And I'm like, look, man, I'm 44 years old. I've never been in jail. I'm not depressed. Like, I don't have a criminal history. If you're bipolar, number one, you would have an incident by now. You know what I mean? If you're schizophrenic, you would have had those at this point. I mean, that's just facts. It's not like they give you pamphlets there, and they tell you this stuff. I'm like, listen, buddy, this is the deal, and it didn't matter. There's 2 levels to West Valley: level 1, level 2. Level 1, if you take the drugs that they suggest, then you get to level 2. You get to wear your shoes and things like that. And they tried to push me on this Geodon, which could have killed me. Honestly, I've come to find out that the combination of that they already gave me in the ambulance, with what was going on with my blood pressure and everything else in my body, was not normal and could have killed me. And they wanted to give me more of it when I was there, and thank goodness that I have enough mental fortitude to say no. I have a choice. They weren't real happy with that. And so as going through this, like, I stayed there I was there held against my will for 14 days. They tried to have a commitment hearing. Now, I want to tell you about this. Like, this happens all the time. It's really sad, actually. They wanted to commit me for a year. No drugs or alcohol. Like, no, kids weren't killed. Now, I had this reaction in my body, like, we have this stuff here, that's not how it works. So 14 days, about the 14th day, 13th day, I've had multiple designated examiner reports where they ultimately determine if you get to go home or not. And I had this hearing. I was trying to find an attorney to represent me in this hearing. What's crazy about this is nobody operates in this space. It's very gray. If you haven't been charged with a crime, which I wasn't at that point, but they don't touch it. They just don't. And so, like I get into this hearing and I've called multiple attorneys. No, like, yeah, we don't do that. We don't do that. We can't help you. Can't help you. Call the bar. Call the bar. Nobody can help me. I get in front of the judge. I call the public defender. I get a public defender. I try to call this man prior to the hearing. He doesn't return my calls. I'm in the lockup, whatever, at the facility. Get to the hearing via remote Zoom, and he opens up. My public defender, mind you, opens up with, "Well, I haven't met Mr. Browning, but it's pretty clear to me that he's got an underlying mental illness." I'm just sitting here thinking to myself, like, well, you got to be kidding me. Like, how is this my life? How am I here?
That's crazy.
Right? And then the prosecutor in Owyhee County goes, "Well, I'm not ready yet." I'm thinking to myself, how are you not ready, man? Like, the guy just made your case for you. Like, what? And thank God. I mean, thank God, because this is like on a Friday or Thursday. And, like I get a few more days. I finally find somebody I went to high school with that she's like, I haven't done anything like this before, but yeah, I'll put my name on the ticket and we'll figure it out. Gave her $5,000.
Mm-hmm.
She shows up on Sunday. The commitment hearing is supposed to be on Monday at like 8 a.m. She shows up Saturday to meet with me. I let the hospital know and everybody know, hey, I got to turn now. The designated examiner shows up at 7 p.m. on Sunday. They don't come by on Sundays, by the way, the hospital. So, we're going to let you go home. No kidding. You're going to let me go home now, huh? I got a real attorney. Like, what the experience that I got.
Super suspect.
It's sad. It's really sad. Mm-hmm. And I want to tell you the reason this is important, because this happens all the time. This happens all the time. And what happens?
That's how they make their money with the system.
That's how they make their money. And as soon as they get control of your body, you're done, dude. And it started for me with the police. They said they approached me on the boat. They said I wanted to kill myself. I never said that. Never said that. They put in a police report. Then a false narrative gets created. And then your family gets involved. And they're like, oh my gosh, what's happening? They don't have all the facts. Well, the cops said this. Well, we trust police. And it's like this inertia. And this happens to people constantly. It doesn't matter if it's family or circumstance. And next thing you know, you've got someone that's been committed, pumped full of drugs, and over time they become not themselves anymore. I saw it. And so the reason why I bring this up is I feel like part of my purpose and through going through this is to create places of healing, places to help people that go through situations like this so they don't get locked up, they don't get thrown away. And so that's part of what I'm working on towards now, is to go through this. But it didn't end with that. And I don't know if you want me to continue my story. I mean, I'd love to tell you the rest of it. I mean,
how are you dealing with not having your kids around?
It's been incredibly difficult, but I will say meditation, yoga, and transcendental meditation is another one that I started doing. It's been really profound for me. And I will say this, through this whole experience, I have figured out so much about myself. It's like just kind of like to sit in me and to figure out, like, number one, who is Whitney Browning? Who do I want to be? And when I get them back, what kind of father do I want to be? And I know what's really has been profound for me is that I know without a doubt that there's something else out there beyond me. And that even though, yes, this has been incredibly difficult, that eventually I will get them back, and it's going to be amazing. I learned to be present. And I don't know if when people say present, that place where you don't worry about the past, you worry about the future so much. And it's interesting. My mom passed away years ago, and it's something she used to say all the time. It's like, you got to learn to live in the precious present. And as I was going through this process with the kids on the lake, I'm like, hey guys, we need to learn mom's lesson. Like, my older kids started calling me bro. She's 10, and like, they got cell phones, and I got one that's 10, and at the time one that was 5. And it's that close place. It's like, okay, this is just a moment in time. Like, I'm going to lose them. They're going to be a teenager here on the other end, and that this is the spectrum here. And so as we're talking, like, I'm telling them, and I know a part of it's, I'm going through this process, but you got to live in the precious present. We got to learn mom's lesson. So I'm on the lake going through this, like telling them this thing that mom would try to tell me, but mom only found that in death. Mom only found that when she knew she was dying, and she found out she had stage 4 cancer, and it was in August of 15, and she was gone in December. I was like, boom, she's gone. She's a part of my life.
I'm sorry, man.
Yeah, it's okay. But, like she's still here, and like she's watching after me. And like, and so, yes, it's been difficult. It's been hugely difficult because they're part of my purpose and they're who I identify with or have for as a father and a man, and
I love that. I love that, dude. That is beautiful. Okay. So let's backtrack to when you're going through the experience and you've got arrested, right?
Yeah.
And so you're talking about there's a point where you get out of, I don't know if you got out of the car or whatever happened, but you basically, the deputy pulls you out of the car and things get really bad.
Yeah.
And you said that you basically got tackled to the ground and they put you in those restraints with the cuffs and they did your feet, right? Yeah. Mm-hmm. That's like they hog-tied you or whatever, right?
Yeah, they did.
And you said that you heard someone say, "Do you accept Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior?"
So what happened is when I was in the back of the police car, they pulled me out by my feet and my arms, hogtied, because I believe my feet were restrained at that point. And they pulled me to the ground. I thought in that moment they were going to hurt me. Honestly, I was like, please don't hurt me. Please don't hurt me. Please don't hurt me. I think I was saying that. And then he pulls the Trinity knot off my neck and they break McCormick. So he's the one I thought was grandfather, holds it, it breaks. And as he does that, he takes that water bottle that I've been trying to get sips of and he shoves it down my throat and says, "Do you accept Jesus Christ as your Savior?" And I'm like, yes, yes, yes.
Okay, see, I didn't hear you say that because you didn't say yes in the story.
Yes.
So that's great.
Yeah. Yeah. And so, and yeah, I do, and like the dogma of religion too. It's like I said earlier, like it's all valid. It really is. It doesn't matter what gets you to that same place. I think there's been a lot of stuff that's been used in organized religion that has been negative. You probably know this, but like whatever gets you to that place, to the light, I think that's what's key. And if we can all get to that place of unity where we all realize that instead of trying to see the bad or my way is the best way or this or that, that's the place that we need to get to, because it's like,
well, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just, everything has been so divisive. Like I've really tuned out of a lot of stuff just because it's programming, the negative, like we don't realize how much programming we get. There's so many control mechanisms of the matrix. We use the matrix as a term, but it's true. You think you free yourself from that and, I'm not going to subscribe to this certain beliefs anymore. And then you get into some other fear-based belief or some conspiracy theory that's not true. And then that's another form of control. And, I think really when you get to that space where you realize that this experience here is temporary, and this is just my opinion. I mean, everyone has their own opinion. All opinions are valid, but like, I believe that the soul continues on. It doesn't die. It continues on. I'm here for a purpose. I'm here for a certain reason, to clear some of the trauma in the past and to deal with some of the things that have happened and hopefully help some people. But I think every soul here has a purpose when they come back. That's what I believe. So,
absolutely, especially when you come back.
Yeah.
So, what is the significance of that pendant that you're wearing?
Yeah. So it kind of it's unity. It's the three things. I feel like it's the Son, the Father, and the Holy Ghost. However you want to put it. Like those three things and the three girls.
Holy Trinity.
Yeah, the Holy Trinity. And I have three little girls too. So,
why do you think that the person that you thought was your grandfather ripped it off?
It's interesting. When I came, I was holding a Bible. I had the Bible, and then I have these Jesus shoes that are like one looks like a Jesus shoes, but they're like orthopedic. So they have these arches, so they slip on. One's a slip on, and I was in a hurry that day, and I put one of the slip-on shoes on, and then I had one that was a flip-flop. So you look at my feet and I've got mismatched shoes, man. It's very like, and I look back and I go, that's kind of biblical, man. Like, like didn't Jesus have mismatched shoes or something like that? I don't really know, but it was just
Uh,
ironic. I'm like, what is this, man? This is very weird, very strange. I
yeah.
remember when I pulled up to the lake, I was trying to get the boat in the water, and this guy approached, and I asked him for some help, and I was like, and he looks at me and he goes, I hope you got a lot. You're not going to get back to work anytime soon. You got a lot of time. And it was a weird, and it sticks out with me so much now. And I'm like, because it was like this very surreal feeling as I look back at just, like, why would he say that? Like, but that microcosm of time, like the last 6 months of dealing with this, it's been just really just like my life just slowed down, way down, and being present. And, I don't know that I have the time to reflect if I didn't have my children away, and realize, get in alignment with my soul purpose outside of them, which is building these healing centers. What's interesting about it is that I went to Eagle Creek. The head nurse there, this light worker, she introduced me to like sound bowls and like, acupuncture and somatic breath works and things like that. And they ended up firing her. I had this connection with her like the last week that I was there. Now she's one of the people that I'm forming these healing centers with. And then you talk about synchronicities. And then, I was meeting Amanda on the lake. And then the day before that, I meet somebody that she knows, this guy, Daniel, and he's, was on the similar journey, and he's part of that as well. And so all that, and like Amanda's connected, that's a different story. She's connected to this as well. But like, it's all very, for me, the synchronicities of things have been pretty profound. And I, we could talk about this a little bit. I had a spiritual awakening right before this. And what I mean by that is like, I wrote it down. This is how I'm going to live my life from now on. I'm going to live in the precious present. Trust yourself. Live a life that's uniquely yours. Never be afraid to fail. It's never too late to start over. And then always give more than you get. And I wrote it down. I put it out there in the universe. And as soon as I did that, it's like things started just coming into alignment. But then I almost died on the lake. But maybe that was part of it. Maybe I had to go through that. I don't know. So.
Absolutely. I mean, absolutely, you had to go through that because, as you said before, you didn't really believe in anything. You were basically an atheist.
Yeah.
And now you have this spiritual connection with God.
Yeah.
You saw your grandpa and in people and other people, and this whole profound experience has completely changed your outlook. So yeah, I mean, what a profound experience, and it's wild. We go through the suffering that we go through because that's just part of our spiritual growth. And this is a tough one. It really is, to go through the experience of basically not being believed by anyone,
right?
That you're a crazy person, and that you tried to kill yourself and you tried to kill your kids and all these horrible things that people said, and to be able to persevere through that takes a great deal of personal strength, and I would like to think that having God and having Jesus in your life has helped you get through that. And so I'm curious, now that you've been through the experience, how is your relationship with Jesus Christ?
I mean, it's phenomenal, man. I pray every day. As soon as my feet hit the ground, thank you, God. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for this life. Thank you for my kids. Thank you for the people, this gratitude. And as soon as you open up to that, the universe answers. It's weird. It's like the power of prayer, right? Like, I don't go to church. That's not my vibe. That's okay. I'm very spiritual, but stuff's been answered. I mean, and when I ask, it shows up. Like tomorrow, I'm not even worried. Like, I just know it's going to be okay. I just intuitively know. And that's another thing too. It's like things have come to me intuitively now. That I don't even know what that is, since this near death experience, just like knowing things are going to happen before they happen, things like that, that it just like, I just feel it, and I just know. And it's very, when you're being accused of being a crazy person, it's not a subject of conversation that you really want to talk about too much, but it has happened, and it is just stuff that
Sure.
I am dealing with and have had, very profound experiences with recently. And so I'm going through that, but yeah, I'm trying not to like put those posts on Facebook and, hey,
Right.
the whole world is turned against you.
Yeah. You got to be careful, unfortunately. But
Yeah,
I think
for sure. Yeah.
as long as you carry a Bible around with you, or at least try to, when you talk about things that are empathic or spiritual, or you're connecting with God and things like that, as long as you kind of keep it on that sort of Christian plane, people will probably be a lot more open to it, even though I know that's not where you are. But, going through all of this, have you had any support from anyone to help you with getting the kids back? What's going on with that?
Yeah. So my father's been incredibly supportive. Thank goodness. I don't know where I'd be at without his help, quite frankly. I would be lost. And so, financially, he's helped me. This is, if I end up in trial, it's going to be $100,000. And that's just the reality. That's what it will cost. That's just a rough ballpark. I'm charged with 4 felonies. Each sentence, could be 6 to 8 years, 4 counts. I've never been to, that's just worst case scenario. I don't believe that. And they have to prove that beyond a reasonable doubt. And we have a lot. I've got evidence and so I trust in faith. And I just know, and tomorrow I go up there for preliminary hearing and, I think the officers will be there. I think my kids might be there, which, it's going to be an emotional day. And, but I'm looking forward to it, and that's that place of being present and just feeling, hey, when you trust in faith and you just know everything's going to work out, my word's impeccable now, man. Like, I'm an honest person. Like, if I say I'm going to do it, I do it. That's another big thing too. It's just like those things those behaviors and things that didn't serve me before, the old me, like chasing women or, I am completely different. And it's weird because I just don't have those desires anymore to do those certain, like even having a, like drinking alcohol, like I want to eat healthier. Like, it's like, as soon as you raise your vibration, your frequency, you want that more of that. Once you experience that life force and prana, whatever you want to call it, you want more of it. It's like your new drug. Right. And so,
Absolutely.
and as I raise my frequency, I've noticed that like I become more in tune with things. Things more intuitively come to me. I'm more closer to the light, so to speak. And so it's beautiful. I just love it. And I want
Absolutely.
to share it. So
yeah, and this is another reason why people fast, is because you're removing all the toxins from your body, which then give you all of your energy is to connect with God, basically.
Right.
This is why Jesus fasted, and it's why people have good diets and you're absolutely right. It's about once you hit that sort of existence of like a lighter vibration, you just want to stay in it, because if you eat the heavy foods, or if you have especially alcohol severs your connection right away.
Yeah, it lowers your frequency immediately. So
big time. Yeah, that's why they call it spirits, because you can be taken
right.
over by
I knew that, actually. That's so true. Yeah. For sure.
Okay, awesome. If you got your kids back, and you will, but when you get your kids back, what sort of legacy do you want to leave behind? Things that they'll remember. What do you want to do for your kids?
Yeah, absolutely. That's important to me, and I want to show them that you don't ever quit. However bad it gets, I just keep pushing forward, because I always tell them, like, when it hurts, you got to push for your purpose. You got to just keep going forward, because life is hard. You know, it has to start about. It's interesting. It's funny. Like, I tell people all the time, it's like, would you go back in time and change anything? Like, no. Everything that happens in life molds you into the person that you are today. And my dad told me this the other day. He said, son, when you get through this, you're unstoppable. There's nothing you can't do. And as far as legacy goes, these healing centers are a big part of that, and being an advocate for people. There's so much that I've changed so much in the last 6 months, just from, meditation, being present, And just, I wake up and watch the sunrise, man. I watch the sunset, and like, I appreciate people. I can look at people and say, you know what? I don't hold this space for anger anymore that I did. I could be incredibly angry at my ex-wives, but I don't. Like I pray for them, like, I forgive you. Like it's okay, and I do that. Like, because they're their moms. And I want them to heal. I want everybody to get to the same place that I'm at right now, and I'm not a guru or anything like that, but oneness. That's the one thing that I got from this whole thing. The oneness is that we're all one. It doesn't matter what religion you come from, Buddhism, Hinduism, Mormonism. If it gets you to that place, it's all valid, right? Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah, so it true. Really is. It really is, man, and it's so true. And into that, yeah, for sure. Yeah. So
I was going to say, I love that you're meditating, and we'll go back to these questions in a second, but
yeah,
that's what my channel is about. It's called Let Thy Single Eye Be Still. And that is a quote from the Bible. Let thy single eye be still, and the body shall be full with light.
Yeah.
And, I love where your mindset is and where your heart is right now with the praying for your wife and not having vengeance in your heart, because, God has forgiven us for the multitude of sins that we have committed throughout our lives. He's forgiven all those things. So we ourselves should also forgive those indebted to us.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It's that place where you can look at another soul. I mean, I read this amazing book recently, and it really resonated for me, and it's called The Seat of the Soul. If you ever read it, it was written in the 80s by a guy named Gary Zukov. It talks about karma and our soul purpose and why we're here and things like that. And as you ascend to this multi-sensory being, how you become more in tune with things. Like they say, 5D and things. I'm sure you're familiar with the language that I'm speaking right now. Everything's a frequency, vibration. And our words are so incredibly powerful. Like if you say you can, you can. If you say you can't, you can't. If you say you hate yourself, there's been studies that have done that, like how that negatively affects the cells in your body and things like that.
Absolutely.
And so I'm incredibly cognizant of all those things now. And that's, as far as legacy, those are things that I'm so excited to get my girls back in, to teach them, to show them, and I'm present now. I've learned mom's lesson. I've learned to be present. Things start to open up when you let the light in. And now I get to walk in the light. And that's the thing about it. It's like there's something bigger than me out there. And when you connect with that and you realize that, I first felt it on a yoga mat, but then I really felt it when I almost died, And so what I got from this experience is just when I learned how to be present and to make that connection, it really changed my life and my perspective and how much I just appreciate life and people and things. So if I can be an example of, just don't ever quit. Don't ever let anybody's opinion, determine your life. Keep pushing for your purpose, no matter what, no matter how bad it gets. And there's something to be said about the power of prayer as well. It's changed my life.
If you like, if I could pray for you at the end of this.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
Okay. All right. So
I'll pray with you if you like.
Sure.
Sure.
I'll go first. How's that?
Okay. All right.
Okay. Father, I just want to pray for this man. I pray that the windows of opportunity become present, that precious present that his mother talked about. I pray that his eyes are open, his ears are able to hear. I pray that the Holy Spirit speaks through him on this day that comes tomorrow. I pray that what needs to be said is heard and felt. I pray that people's are willing to listen to the man who has changed his life, who has accepted Jesus as his Lord and Savior, and has taken the necessary steps to show that he's more than what they have made him out to be. I hope and pray that there are ears that hear. Amen.
Amen. Thank you for that.
Mhm.
I appreciate you, most sincerely. Yeah,
You're
thank
welcome,
you
man.
on your show, man. I hope that the story resonates with some people and helps some people in some way, fashion, or form. So I appreciate what you're doing. It's a wonderful message. So thank you.
You're welcome. I'll keep praying for you, man.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
All
Have a
right.
good one.
You too, man. Take care.
So anybody? Out of pine cones, we can make a fire.
That's amazing. So can anybody be anything in the portal they want to be?
Of course they can. I want to be a unicorn girl.
You can be a unicorn girl.
Dad, what do you want to be?
With you? Always? And forever? In this moment?
That is a very nice thing to say.
And I always will be, babe. So if you just hold on to that anytime you feel. So that's what I do. Every time I think about things that are hurting me or pain, I just close my eyes and I think about the portal and I think about you guys. And then it goes away. So that's what you have to do. Yeah? It's beautiful. Just like, oh, just puppy love. Look at that. Oh, I love it.